Hello there, everybody. I'm Allan Feldman, the Laguna Woods Democratic Club, and this is Black in Laguna Woods. Thank you for taking the time to watch us today. Today we're going to be speaking with Dom Jones. Now, I know the next question, of course, is, well, what does Dom Jones do? But that's not the right question. The actual question, and the question much easier to answer, is what doesn't Dom Jones do? She owns a business. She's a minister. She's an entertainer. She's an advocate. That's just some of it. We're scratching the surface here. And in addition, she's the Democratic candidate for the California State Assembly for the 72nd Assembly District, which covers all of Laguna Woods. So first off, Dom is right up the road from us from Huntington Beach, by the way. That's where she lives. So. So, number one, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. And we got a lot to talk about.
Yes,
so
we do.
I'm going to get right into it. And first thing we need to talk about is you. You've got to give us a little history. How'd you get to Huntington Beach? The long and winding road or the straight and narrow path?
The long and winding road. Well, first off, I want to say thank you, Allan, for having me into the Laguna Woods Democratic Club as well.
Our pleasure.
Glad to be here with all of you. And how I got to Huntington Beach is a very long, winding road. I was born and raised in Compton, California. My mom had me when she was 13 years old. And so I went through a hard life. I went through homelessness. I lived on the street. I was an unhoused teenager, so I experienced that. I went through the foster care system, and I had to go through that, many different homes, group homes or whatnot. However, I was very resilient as a child, and I fought very hard. I got good grades in high school, graduated at the top of my class, and I went to college in Minnesota. And that took me way to the other side, right, to the Midwest. And then as life panted on, I became an ordained minister, as you mentioned. I learned to speak Vietnamese and Tagalog and Spanish to help people live a better life. And that work brought me to Huntington Beach.
Okay, there you are at Huntington Beach.
There I am.
Okay, so I'm going to plunge right into something you mentioned tangentially. Now I've heard Dawn speak before, so Dawn speak before. Apologize. Speak before. So I know some of the things that are important to you, and I know one of the things that's most important to you is education.
Oh yes.
I want to start with maybe your education.
Yes.
Not necessarily where you went to school and that kind of thing, but just
Yeah.
like how it helped you.
Yes.
Become the person that you are today.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Allan, for asking that question. So for me, being a child who was in the foster care system, many of those young people that I saw around me would get involved in drugs and gang affiliations and go the way of the streets because they didn't have any parents around them. However, myself, I made a choice that education was going to be my way out, that education was going to be my way towards having a life that I felt reflected who I really was. And so for me, it was all about pursuing education that I in turn could turn around and use to serve others. So that's why when I went to school, I majored in communication studies. I wanted to be good at communicating with others, and ironically, as you mentioned in entertainment, being able to communicate adaptly and connect with others is so essential. I also majored in what's called interdisciplinary studies. And what that is that it encompasses a broad spectrum of humanities. Women's studies, American women's studies, the humanities relating to how we function as a society, sociological, anthropological. All of these things I pulled together to really bolster me up in my education. And education to me is so important because in a system where we need to make sure that we bring our children up so that they can actually have a strong cognition and relate to the world around them, our education system has to be good. We have to have good teachers. We have to have good students who are able to sit in class and learn. And growing up for me, that was big. I was able to sit in class, read books, learn, study, work hard. If it wasn't for education, Allan, I would not be sitting here in front of you today.
So what do you think education brings to other people? You talk about giving back.
Yes.
So we're all the same, but we're all different.
Sure. Yes.
So what do you think education brings to other people? How does it help How does it help people? How does it help people along?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I would say that education overall, what it does is that it helps people to build a level of equality okay? Because there are some people, as you said, we're different, who are born into circumstances that they cannot help, that put them at a disadvantaged level, you know? For example, yes, I did, some would say, pull myself up by my bootstraps. However, there was a certain resiliency that I had, and then education allowed me to expound upon that. What education does is that it helps people to gain the knowledge that they need to achieve the goals that they in turn, in their hearts, really want to achieve. Education is not always the route for everyone, but it is a vehicle by which we can build some sort of equanimity in society overall. So I believe it is a huge equalizer. In fact, it's been utilized in America as a large tool to help those lower income communities, those disenfranchised communities, to get themselves up in a situation to be economically prosperous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's the key to being a successful person?
I think it is a key.
Yeah.
I think it's a key because, as I mentioned, it's not for everyone. In fact, I'm an artist as well,
right.
And I know many artists who they don't prefer the 4-year collegiate level, you know, but they prefer perhaps the experiential level, the taking a gap year for maybe a few years, and
right.
yeah. So I think it's a key, and it works for many people, but it needs to be accessible to people as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to abruptly change the subject.
Yes, please do.
And,
Yeah.
Because you also, your interests are not just national and humanistic, they're international also. Now, you work with the United Nations
Yes.
and the United Nations Association, I believe, here.
That is correct.
In Orange County. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So I am the United Nations Government Affairs Ambassador for all of Orange County. And what that means is that I worked with the Orange County chapter of the United Nations Association here, and we worked to actually help our country achieve the sustainability goals, the goals that the United Nations has set out for all countries to pursue. And these goals relate to things like homelessness, you know, stopping homelessness by a certain year, you know, environmental stewardship, women's rights. All of these things are a part of the goals. There's about 18 or 19 of them. And what I do is I try to work with local government, so city council members and those of that sort, to help them to implement in our city structure and the way we legislate and the way we govern these sustainability goals in our city so that we achieve them and then collectively as a county. So it really is my personal jump in to have global activism, global stewardship, but it all starts locally.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've also, I mean, recently you've been recognized by the United Nations. Is that correct? You've received and tell us what
Yes.
what you just received.
Yeah, so I was kind of, I thought the email, Allan, I thought it was spam, okay? I was like, what is this? What is this? But yes, I was shockingly just, the United Nations Association, the National of the United States of America Executive Council has given me the award as the Young Leader of the United States of America Award for the United Nations Association. And that is a tremendous honor.
Yeah, imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I'm so grateful. And I wouldn't be in that position if it weren't for people like the President of the United Nations Association, Dave Rice, and so many others who have brought me along into this form of global work. So
how did you get involved in that? How did that first attract you?
Well, you know, I've always been someone I call myself a woman of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So I was born and raised in America, but when I was in college, I traveled to Brazil, and I went to Vietnam, and I've traveled to Argentina, and to so many places in the world, in Singapore, and Kuala Lumpur, and I could see that we were much more alike than we are different. So I never really wanted to get into politics or anything or government because, you know, I know it can be a little bit, you know, for people and myself. I just was in the healing space running my gym, my Propel Cycle gym. However, as I moved into the spaces of leadership, I could see that it expanded beyond America, that America was just one country of many, and I wanted to get involved in a way that would impact just every country and millions of people, and we can, you know, help us rise together and rise up to be better as a humanity. And that's when the United Nations for me made sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned. Well, let me go back actually a second because we talked about education before. Now, you are also not only are you educated, but you are an educator. And this is not an actual segue. There are no natural segues.
There are none. There are none. We're just going to just go boom, boom.
Really. But how did you get into that? And what do you teach? Just what does that mean to you?
Absolutely. So when I was younger, I knew I wanted to be an educator. Being raised in part by my grandmother, who was a minister herself, that had a huge impact on me. And she was a really good minister. She's my angel, I say now, but I want to give my love to her as well, Dolores Diamond. But I decided I wanted to teach kids, students. And a special place in my heart was for special needs children, because my grandmother, when she was raising me, drove the special needs school bus and had me sitting behind her every day. And when they would get on the bus, and she would actually have to put out the ramp for the wheelchairs to get onto the school bus, she would always teach me to treat them with kindness, because they're the diamonds of the world. So later on in life, I decided I wanted to help them, and I became a special needs educator. So that's what I do. I actually teach special needs students. I help in that area. I go into the classrooms and I help them focus on learning, and I help the others in the classroom work together in tandem. And I'm really grateful, because I believe that they are the diamonds of the world. And I believe that they deserve so much love. And I believe they should not be left behind. So mainstream is fantastic, but there's no way I'd ever want to do anything other, for me, than teaching our diamonds of the world.
Right. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, I've been doing that for a long time. So it's been consistent in my life, I would say over 15 years.
Really?
Yes. Yes. A long, long time.
Really? And something else that you mentioned, I just want to ask you about also. You mentioned the gym that you own.
Yes.
That's in Huntington Beach.
Correct.
Yeah, so you are also a person of business, a business owner in Huntington Beach.
A business owner, yes, indeed. So I opened my gym now it's almost be 7 years ago, called Propel Cycle in Huntington Beach. And it is a premier indoor cycling studio. It's a studio that I've had for many years. We built a robust and vast community of people who love to work out. And what it is, it's a combination of music, Allan, and that rigorous cycling on the bike. But here's the thing that makes it special, and that has made it special. What we do is we help people to realize that the power and the energy that they put on that bike, they can take that into their lives, and they can achieve all the goals that they want. It's inspirational, and people's lives have changed, and I'm so grateful to have had that community in my life.
You know, it seems to me, I'll throw this out to you and tell me if I'm correct, when I hear the things that you talk about and the way you talk about them, that your goal, if I could use that term, as a person is to everybody works out different, but there's humanity in us all. It's when you talk about cycling, how you can find that energy and you can transfer that energy. You're touching something that we all have, humanity. We all have energy, some more than others, but how do you put it to use? I mean, it seems to me that's what, in some ways, that's what you're all about. It's finding the humanity in people and bringing that humanity and allowing them to be the best that they can be.
Excellent encapsulation. I can't put it better. And I'll even add to that, and I'll say you're right, and it's about us recognizing that we are one.
Exactly.
That's how I am. We are one. We might all look different from the outside, so to speak.
Right.
But we're all the same, Allan.
Right.
My heart will beat inside your chest just like yours will in mine.
That's right.
That's it.
Until it stops.
Until it stops. And until then, we are here together.
That's right.
We've met in this world, this planet, and we get to honor each other.
Right.
That's all we need to do.
That's
really.
Right. Well, I agree with you, and I need to ask you about, because I've heard you speak about it, so I know what it is, but other people don't.
Yes.
Your hair.
Yes,
obviously
my hair.
You don't have hair like a lot of other people don't have hair like that.
Sure. So I've been told.
But it's not just a fashion statement, is it?
No, in fact, do you want to know something? It didn't, and I'll tell everyone out there too. This did not start out as a fashion statement at all. The reason why I've done my hair this way is because the colors in my hair reflect the love and the light that lives inside of me. It's who I am. I'm rainbows inside, and I'm rainbows and joy, and I want others to see that they too are rainbows and joy, no matter what we've been through, because I've been through so much. But at the same time, despite that, despite the pain, despite the challenges, despite the tragedies even, we can still shine.
There you go.
That's all.
You've shined on on a national, international stage too. I mean, in addition to all the other things you do,
Yes.
you have been we'll call it a game show contestant.
Yes,
A
sure.
different game show than
Reality show.
Right. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes.
Really, tell us a little bit tell us the name of the show and
Absolutely.
how did that happen?
I'm excited to say that I was cast on CBS's The Amazing Race,
Right.
one of the longest running reality shows in history. And what that show is all about, it takes couples, and it's really about relationships. It takes couples and friends and family, whoever pairs up and they decide, takes them all around the world to travel to win and run all these challenges towards $1 million. Right. Slowly you get eliminated along the way. And myself and my fiance both went on to The Amazing Race. And we raced around the world, Allan. We went to Italy, we went to Bologna, we went to Austria, a place named Innsbruck. It was fantastic. And I was able to, I've always wanted to do something where I could share the story of what it means to love others and to emit your light. So on the show, we were Team Love and Light, and we had it on our shirt. And everything we did was about showing that love, even to other contestants who were our competitors.
Really?
Yes, it was. It was awesome.
So how long did it take to do that program?
So the filming overall, I would say the preparation is huge. There's
imagine.
months of preparation before you even leave to begin filming this show. So you have to prep in terms of the casting, of course, you gotta go through that, and then you gotta go through all of the medical examinations, you gotta go through that, and then you gotta go through all of the mental and psychological examinations, you gotta go through that. And then after all of that is done, you get ready to go. You have to make sure everything in your life is good for 1 month, because you have to be prepared to be gone for a month.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
And they do it. I'm interested in this. I have a lot of
I
people
love it.
interested.
No, that's great.
So
Go ahead.
it's the last question I'll ask.
Yeah.
But do you do it? Is it a continue? Do you film it continuously, or in segments?
It's continuous.
It is continuous.
It's in real time. In fact, that's one of the reasons I wanted to go on that show, because I didn't want to go on a show where it's scripted and all that.
Right.
The Amazing Race, Phil Kogan, he is the host of the show, as well as the staff of The Amazing Race, the creators, Elise, all of them. It's filmed in real time. There's no cuts. Mm-hmm. I was on the show crying, Allan, so if anyone wants to watch, feel free to go to your Amazon Prime and watch The Amazing Race, season 34. But I was just crying, and because I was having to build this sculpture that looked incredibly hard. Look, it was Michelangelo. I can't do this. But it's so real. And so what you're seeing is my real experience, not edited to look any certain kind of way. It's truly who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been quite an experience.
It was life-changing, that I can say.
Really?
Oh,
really?
It changed my life. Allie, you know what? I'm going to tell you something, what it taught me, and I love to share with the viewers. Traveling around the world taught me that everywhere you go, people are seeking 3 things. Love from their family, their friends, even to be in love with where they work. Happiness, to be able to take joy and to be excited and elated about whatever it is they're participating in. And safety. Everybody wants to be safe. We're all the same.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to it, really.
Yeah.
So you do all these things. You're involved. And again, we only have half an hour, so we can't even scratch the surface of the things that you do.
I know. I wish I could be with everyone longer.
So I got to ask you this.
Yes.
Why? Doing all these things, being involved in so many things, why do you want to become? What drove you to run for the California State Assembly here in the 72nd District? Why do you want to be in the Assembly?
I want to be in the Assembly. First off, it wasn't my intention to get into politics. Like I said, I'm in the health and wellness space, gym, ownership and everything. However, I often say in life, we all have a purpose, Allan, and we are all called to our purpose in different ways. We can choose to answer that calling, or we can choose not to. There were things that began to happen in my life, and I began to be introduced to people that moved me forward in leadership in my community, where I recognized that my gym was preparation for something on a larger scale, being at the State Assembly. And it's like the wind behind my back. And I want to be in our State Assembly because we need leadership that can guide us towards a better future. Right now, our nation is in a very divided state. unfortunately. And this is what we see fed to us a lot in the media. Divisions, strife, contentions, here and abroad. And at a time where our country is seeking direction, we need leaders not just at a national level, but we need also leaders at a state level to go into government, people who come from the healing spaces, and to show what compassionate, empathetic leadership looks like that serves everyone. And I do believe that we don't have that the way we need it yet, and I believe this is how I've been called into service. So me being in the legislature is having a leader that will work with people across party lines. Because I want to say this, I'm wearing purple today, and purple's all in my hair. It's a blend between blue and red. The two Democrat and Republican, right? But we are the same. I say, yes, I love all. I love Republicans, I love independents, I love Democrats, I love nothing. If you're nothing, whatever, I love you. Because we're the same. So I want to be there to work across party lines to get things done in AD 72.
So let me ask you to go on from that just a little bit.
Yes.
Do you feel that, I think you're right, except here, of course, at Village TV, the media is always looking for conflict.
Of course.
And they're looking for drama.
I know.
And when there is none, well, they're kind of, I don't mean they'll go out in the streets and whip it up, but they'll take something and make it more dramatic than
Absolutely.
it is. Do you believe that as people who live in this country, do you believe we are as divided as it is portrayed? I know we are on some issues, but as a whole, we are all human. But do you feel that we do stand so divided?
I believe that we are actually not as divided as the divisions and the contentions that are portrayed to us. Like we discussed earlier, Allan, we are all human.
Right.
And I believe all of the divisions that are constantly conveyed to us are because there are people perhaps who would want to, remember this, the saying goes, divide and conquer.
Right.
So it's easier to make people believe that there is an other, that there is me, because if there is me and I am in my tribe, then there's an other. So always needing to other others and make others seem like they're the problem, they're the issue, now we're creating a separation. There is no separation. That separation does not exist. And by us focusing on things as orientation, skin color, religion, ideology, political ideology, any of that, by us focusing on that, we're actually stripping ourselves of the most beautiful parts of who we are. What makes us so incredible to exist on this planet, which is our humanity. The fact that if it's me or you and we see the same woman on the street and she falls down and dropped her groceries, both of us would go help her. It wouldn't matter what our ideologies were. So I don't believe it's there, and I believe by focusing on that and all the hatred and all the vitriol, saying, you know what, it remains behind me, see, I go forward and I try my best to help lift up the collective or the collection of the American psychology.
Yeah, how's that work out in Huntington Beach? Now, Huntington Beach,
How's that working out, right?
and it has a reputation. and,
Yes.
And I wonder if the reputation is real or just what we see from people who have been fortunate enough to be in leadership positions.
Sure. Well, I've lived there for quite some time, for over 10 years. And Huntington Beach does have its quarrels. It has its struggles in adaptation to progress and change. There are certain people within the community, perhaps, and I bless their hearts, who might want to keep Huntington as a small beach town.
Right.
But we know, as the fourth largest city in Orange County, it is certainly no longer a small beach town. And it's a big tourism area. We're Surf City. And so, but there's also so much good. People come to Huntington to enjoy Main Street, to enjoy the pier, our iconic pier, to enjoy our beautiful state beach with our amazing species and our bird ecology, so many things. However, when it comes to the social state of Huntington, right now we do unfortunately have a lot of people there who are moving towards a system of rejecting collaboration, rejecting harmony, and insisting on isolation from the whole, I would say, of the state of California. And I don't want to see that happen to Huntington Beach. Huntington Beach is beautiful and it deserves to be open to all people. Yeah.
And do you get good reception when you bring this message?
I do. I get excellent reception, and for those who don't receive my message well, my message might not appeal to everyone, but I do believe what I speak is the truth. I don't speak from a politically partisan perspective. I speak from a perspective that is guided and moves me forward in speaking to the purity in the heart of us all. So if a person decides to disagree with me, well, I find oftentimes it's the fact that they want to stay in their political partisanship, because if I'm saying something to them that sounds truthful, now they're experiencing cognitive dissonance and they don't know how to deal with that. So let me go stick to my guns. And to that I say, may you have peace. May you one day make that transition to having a more full and abundant heart and not feeling you have to operate from scarcity. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And time is galloping away from us.
Indeed it is.
But I really want to ask you this. I think we have like 2 or 3 minutes to do it, a little bit more than 2 minutes. And that is your overall philosophy, which to me is unity over division.
Yes.
So I'd like you to speak about that. I mean, you have been speaking about that, but specifically about this, how you came to this and why you feel obviously you feel it's very important. Why do you feel it's so important?
Thank you, Allan. Growing up, when I was in foster care, I did not have any adults there nourishing my soul to believe in myself as a child, which children need desperately. I felt unloved, and I felt that there was no unity and cohesion in my life. And as I got older, I made a personal decision that I wanted to make sure that whatever I did made others feel loved, and that I created spaces for unity and belonging. For me, unity is about that. It's about belonging to each other. And that means we are stewards of each other. And so what I go forward speaking in the community is unity we can achieve. Because it's not a unity that's blind to the struggles that we have to get there. But it's a unity that says it's possible, step by step, if we're willing to work together and ultimately love one another. Something I didn't have fully as a child, but I am on a purpose-driven mission to make sure I pour from my heart and unify others and give that to them as well.
You think it's possible?
I think it's absolutely possible. I think it is possible if we as a people don't forget from whence we came. Don't forget the annals of history and what it teaches us. We learn from it so that we stop repeating the same mistakes. And if we get out of our egos, get out of our sense of self, and really operate as one society, as one whole, and as one heart, that requires leadership that's radically different than what we've seen. And that's why I've stepped into the arena.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end. It truly is. I want to thank you so much for not only being here today, spending your time here today, but in running for office and doing what you do throughout your life. Be an inspiration to people.
Thank you, Allan.
So thank you. Dom Jones, Huntington Beach, thank you so much for being here today. And we will hopefully see you down the line.
Absolutely.
And for all of you who are watching, I want to thank you so much for watching us as you do regularly. And we will see you again next month. Thank you all. Have a good day.